and I'm here to tell you my UX birth story. So essentially how I got started in UX and how that route led me to where I am today, a senior designer at Wattpad. So just a little background about myself. I grew up in Toronto pretty much my entire life. I came here when I was 2 years old from Vietnam. And as far as I remember, I've always been fascinated with computers. My first time actually having been a computer was when I think I was 3 or 4 at that time. My dad is a graphic designer by trade, and so he had an old legacy Apple computer, and I don't even remember the model, but I'll try to find it and like post it here. And I think we were on one of the earliest versions of Photoshop, and he was teaching me how to design the Apple logo. So it's not the one that you see now where it's lit up at the back of a computer, but the ones with the little stripes between. I'll also try to find that and throw that up here somewhere. And that was my first interaction with a computer, is actually learning how to design. So fast forward a few years, still super into computers. Found my way onto Asian Avenue. For those who don't know, Asian Avenue is I guess, early days social media network of Asians, and essentially everybody had a web page that you can customize, throw in like super quirky, weird, embarrassing usernames, and customizing that with HTML. That was actually the first time I started coding, was when I was, I think, I don't know about the terms and conditions back then, but I think I was like 11 or 12, creating and updating constantly my Asian Avenue page. But because it was sort of like the dawn of the internet and its, I guess, more recreational use, I didn't realize that I can make a career in computers. Throughout high school, I did a lot of graphic design just for fun because I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed being creative. I enjoyed designing things on a computer, manipulating images and creating these, banners and these really cool, I guess, pieces of art that, I mean, it's so weird to say that now because I didn't consider myself an artist back then, but I very much consider myself an artist now. And so it was just kind of like a hobby. I never really thought it would result to anything. And fast forward a few more years to university, and I actually applied at UTSC, which is the University of Toronto, but the Scarborough campus. Specifically, that campus had a co-op program, which was, I didn't realize, but I guess super elite in a way, or just super hard to get in. I think they accepted about 150 students a year into the program, so I was really lucky that my grades were really up there. And it would have been a commerce degree, and I would have done sort of 2 semesters back-to-back of school and then a semester of co-op. So for those Americans or around the world, a co-op is just sort of like an internship. In Canada, it is illegal to work for free, so you did get paid, and depending on where you got your co-op, you were, really setting yourself up for the future. Unfortunately, I did not continue with the program. First year of university, we had a family illness that really took me away from my studies, and unfortunately I couldn't keep up my grades to continue on in the program. And so I was really lost, I think, at the end of first year. It doesn't really help that, coming from an immigrant family, there weren't enough resources, or at least I didn't have access to the resources to really guide me through university life. So I just sort of paused, kind of reconsidered my life and kind of my goals in life, and see where do I really want to go. And I got called in because I was actually on probation. And I got called into, I believe it's called I don't know if it was the dean's office, but essentially like I was on an at-risk list of and I had to go in and see this person, and they asked, like, what's going on? You're you know, your grades are really, really bad. Like I think in the first semester of university, I failed 3 out of 5 courses. That's how bad it was. And I didn't know how to deal with that. So anyways, I got called into this office, and let's call him the dean. The dean was like, you know, I'm so sorry to hear that about your family. How about you take some courses that just kind of, you know, elective courses, just take some time to yourself, relax a little bit, and don't worry so much about these like aggressive courses. So I did, and I think one of the first courses that I took was a women's study and a intro to sociocultural anthropology. And at that time, I didn't know that there are different sort of studies of anthropology. So when I read the description, it was like the study of humans, culture, and religion, and why people do things. And I was like, oh, that's super interesting. I'm really interested in humans. And so after taking that first year course, I loved sociocultural anthropology. And for those who don't know, it's socio-cultural. So it's taking the social and the cultural aspects of human life and kind of putting it under a microscope and trying to understand through the lens of the people who are experiencing that thing. I ended up finishing with honors. I have a major in marketing and a minor in sociocultural anthropology. And you know, they always say like once you finish school, you know, there's just always this like rush towards the next step and what are you gonna do next? And I really didn't know. At that time, I thought that I was gonna go down the academic route. I was considering doing a master's in sociocultural anthropology and then later on a PhD. I just took a little bit of time after university to quote unquote like find myself and see what I really wanted to do, and I didn't really figure that out. I actually traveled. I felt badly about myself throughout those years, and it wasn't until I found a new grad position at an IT consulting company that I really had my first career job. And that opportunity is actually, I would say, something that catapulted my career as a designer. And the program consisted of me sort of cycling through, and myself and I believe it was 14 other people in this program. We cycled through a sort of a 3-month cycle of the SDLC, and that's something that stands for Software Development Lifecycle. This financial application that we were building in-house was actually due for a refresh, like completely revamping, and the product designer or the design lead at that time was swamped and needed lots of help. And so I was sort of in the team as a QA, I believe, at that point, and I just kind of jumped in and said, hey, you know, I kind of have design chops. I've done this graphic design. Let me help you. I thought, I know UX design. I heard of it. I feel like I've done it before, because I think in all of us, there's a little bit of a designer that feels like they know UX, and I thought I knew it. I was like, yeah, of course, I know how to do this. I know how to design. I know how to design flows and, you know, buttons and everything. And I jumped into it, and a month in, she left for another job, another opportunity, and I was left literally treading water. There was a lot that happened and so many learnings that I had there. I can talk about that in another video, but essentially what I got out of that first job is just how to become a real designer. And when I say a real designer, that means more than just pushing pixels. That means more than just designing. That means, you know, not only problem solving, but actually understanding the problem in the first place, and the problem is very rarely something that someone says. It's most always something that is observed, a pain point, and I also learned how to better communicate my designs to stakeholders, better sell, because something that people don't realize is UX design, product design. A lot of what you do is communication to stakeholders. If you don't get buy-in from stakeholders, it's very, very, very hard, despite you having designed something beautiful and awesome. And so those are the things that I got from that first job. So then shortly after, I joined a media and entertainment company, and that was a whole new ball game. I had to learn a new set of skills and, add more to my designer toolbox. Some of those were how to influence design thinking in a company that otherwise didn't. How to make UX presence more prominent, from a media and entertainment point of view. Design is something that was still very new. And how do I make it known that, this is something that we need to work towards? How do I implement processes? So before my joining, there was no usability testing. So we had products in the app market, so on iOS and Android, even tvOS, but we never spoke to our users. We never measured and really looked at what is working, what isn't, how can we fix things. The focus was just on to build. And so from that position, I learned a whole new set of tools that I have brought with me today to Wattpad. And I used to think that my degree was super random, and some people laugh like, oh, marketing, anthropology, what are you gonna do with that? But it actually helped all the things in my life, all my interests, all my curiosities, even my minor in sociocultural anthropology, helped shape me become a better designer. That's it for today. I thank you so much for watching and listening to my UX birth story. I hope you enjoyed hearing my experience, and I'd love to hear yours and what your certain struggles are with starting out, or what your questions are. Ask them below and I'll be sure to answer. Bye for now.